Global Job Change, starting with The Hidden Job, Lord of the Death Chapter 21, Novel Cool the Parchment of the Dead. Can you open the Undead Skill Book? Seeing this sheepskin scroll, Lu Yan's eyes lit up. It was a good thing. Although the Undead Skill Books are issued randomly, it is possible to obtain good things, or it is possible to obtain garbage skills, but for Lu Yan, it is a very good item. After all, there are not many skill books in the Undead department. Except for the basic ones, there are basically no books on the market. He asked the shopping guide just now. The Helan Exchange has a skill book for the Undead system, but there is no one here in Linen City. After all, there are too few skill books for the Undead system. How much is this sheepskin roll? Lu Yan asked. While looking at the shopping guide, the shopping guide glanced at it and said directly, "Sir, this sheepskin roll of 100,000 energy coins is relatively cheap among the same items." Lu Yan nodded. The shopping guide was telling the truth. If it was something similar to the random skill of other professions, the price would not be lower than 500,000 energy coins. After buying this sheepskin roll, Lu Yan did not hesitate, and directly followed the method mentioned by the shopping guide, opened the sheepskin roll, and put his hand on it. In an instant, Lu Yan felt the power of the undead gushing out from the sheepskin scroll and quickly submerged into his body. Soon, Lu Yan felt a power in his body. Ghost Sneak, Master Level, arouse the power of the undead, cover itself, hide the figure, pass through objects. The stronger the power of the undead, the better the concealment effect and the traversal effect. Lu Yan raised his eyebrows, but he didn't expect to use a master level skill, and luck was still very good. Moreover, this ghoul stealth is a stealth skill, which is exactly what he needs now. Lu Yan pondered for a while. He still had 800,000 energy coins left. After thinking about it, he looked at the shopping guide beside him and asked, "Do you have any storage items here?" The shopping guide nodded and said, "Yes, the storage items here are divided into those that store dead objects, and those that can store goods very well. I wonder which one do you want, sir?" "As long as you can store dead objects," Lu Yan said directly. Storage items that can store living things are much more expensive than storage items that can only store dead things, and Lu Yan doesn't have that much money to buy them. Besides, Lu Yan doesn't need storage items for living creatures now. The shopping guide nodded, and then brought Lu Yan to the storage place. There are all kinds of storage items here, such as bracelets, necklaces, and so on. Depending on the space that can be stored, the price is also different. Lu Yan quickly picked a small necklace. The storage space inside is not large, only 10 cubic meters, but the price has reached 500,000 energy coins. At this point, Lu Yan's purchase on the Helan Exchange is complete. Bringing 3 million energy coins in, only 300,000 energy coins are left when you go out. These energy coins paid for Luo Liulai's medical expenses, plus qi and blood supplements and other miscellaneous things, and there was not much left. Generally speaking, the first reward of a school is enough for candidates to improve themselves for a month, and it's the kind that reaches the limit of his body's improvement every day. But in less than an hour, Lu Yan was basically finished. With all the things he bought, Lu Yan went straight home. At this time, the sky began to rain lightly. Lu Yan made a simple meal, and after eating, he started exercising. After taking a shower after exercising, I picked up my phone and saw that there was one more missed call. It belongs to Yang Wei. "Hello, Yang Wei? What are you looking for from me?" Lu Yan called back and asked. "Damn it, Lu Yan, you're too unscrupulous. You ran away after the college entrance examination, and didn't wait for me. Also, your kid has become famous this time. You can clear the level so quickly on nightmare difficulty. If you hadn't confirmed it repeatedly, I would have thought it was the same name as yours. Hey, I've heard that you must be in the top 3 in the province this time. Come out quickly and celebrate tonight. I remember you're still a baby, right? My buddy will take you on a meat drive tonight." As soon as the call was made, Yang Wei's excited voice came from the opposite side. Those who didn't know it thought he was going to become the top 3 in the province. Lu Yan smiled. "I have something to do today. I'll invite you to dinner tomorrow. By the way, I want to ask you a favor for something." Yang Wei's cheap voice came. "What are you doing? Shouldn't you be too shy to go out and want me to find you a door-to-door service? Go away, I'm not as thirsty as you. Do you have a bad car over there?" It's the kind you don't drive. I want to use it, and the kind you don't pay back, Lu Yan said directly. Yang Wei was stunned for a moment, and then said, not a good car? There is a horse that hasn't been driven for a long time. Let me send it to you. The horse brand? The corners of Lu Yan's mouth twitched. Cars of this brand often cost millions, right? Although it's not an energy coin, it's still a very good car, and it's not a good car in Yang Wei's mouth. It seems that Yang Wei is richer than he thought. You don't need to bring it here. I'll give you an address. You can just let someone park there. Put the key in the car. Don't lock the door. www.mtlnovel.com, Lu Yan then said. Okay, I'll make arrangements for you now, but don't forget to eat tomorrow. Yang Wei readily agreed. Hanging up the phone, Lu Yan's eyes fell out of the window. At this time, the night is getting darker, and the rain outside is getting heavier and heavier. It seems that Linen will be baptized by the rainstorm tonight. The lights of the surrounding residents have basically been turned off to sleep. Lu Yan also turned off the lights in the room and lay on the bed. 3 hours later, Lu Yan opened his eyes and looked at his phone. It was already 2 o'clock in the night. Quickly got off the bed, Lu Yan put on the equipment prepared next to him, and clenched the black sickle. Lu Yan opened the window, and the wind and rain came from outside. After jumping, Lu Yan jumped directly from the window. The height of the 3rd floor is not a problem for Lu Yan now. There was a muffled sound, which was not obvious from the crackling sound of the surrounding heavy rain falling to the ground. The place where Lu Yan lived was rather dilapidated. Under the heavy rain, the street lights were not turned on, and the surroundings seemed to be plunged into darkness. Taking advantage of the darkness, Lu Yan left quickly, and after 7 turns, he came to an alley. A not-so-broken, or even brand-new Zuma car is listening inside. This Yang Wei is really rich and powerful. It seems that he was underestimated before. Lu Yan opened the door and got in the car. After igniting the car, he kicked the accelerator and rushed out. There were basically not many cars on the street under the pouring rain, and Lu Yan didn't even feel slippery, so he directly stepped on the accelerator to the ground. The black steed car was like a beast, roaring and rushing forward. The direction Lu Yan drove was the west of the city. In a dilapidated villa in the west, the lights were bright at this time. Hu Wei and several younger brothers were drinking and singing in the villa. As a member of Singa, Hu Wei is also a prosperous one. His Singa position is not high enough, and he has not acquired many resources. It is difficult to improve his strengths. Basically, it is necessary to save money on food and clothing, and exchange all the money for resources. But Hu Wei is not the kind of person who can endure, and even if he uses resources to improve, he can't improve too much, so he simply broke the jar and fell. Usually when I don't have a task, I'm drunk and I spend all my money on pleasure. He especially likes rainy days, and when it rains, he must party all night. No, my younger brother brought 8 new beauties tonight. Hu Wei hugged him from side to side. They were gnawing, drinking, and singing. They were so happy. What they didn't know was that the bright black car was like a ghost, parked quietly not far from the villa. After Lu Yan stopped, he went straight down, looked at the villa in front of him, and clenched the black bone sickle in his hand. Without any hesitation, Lu Yan headed straight for the dilapidated villa in front of him. The equipment of the wind spirit suit added a lot of agility to Lu Yan, making him walk without making much noise. Coupled with the majestic heavy rain, it directly covered up all the sounds. When he came to the outer wall of the villa, Lu Yan heard the deafening music inside. There are no other buildings around here, but it is a good place to have fun. But for Lu Yan, it is also a good place to kill people. The moon is dark and the wind is high, coupled with the heavy rain. There is no better time than today. Leaning over the wall, Lu Yan entered directly into the courtyard of the villa. Because of the heavy rain, there was no defensive force around. Only a security booth not far in front had lights, and figures swayed inside. However, the sound of punching punches clearly told Lu Yan that the people inside basically had no awareness of lifting. Approaching the security booth quietly, Lu Yan summoned 2 skeleton elites. Carefully checked the situation inside, and Lu Yan found that there were only 3 people who were punching and drinking, without any warning at all. Holding the black bone sickle, Lu Yan slowly opened the door of the security pavilion, and then rushed in directly. The 2 skeleton elites behind them also quickly followed and rushed into the security booth in front of them. Hu As soon as the three people inside raised their heads when they heard the movement, they saw a black sickle flashing with cold light. The sound of flesh and blood cutting sounded, and the three heads flew up and spun, and then landed on the ground. Lu Yan supported one corpse and did not let it fall, while the two skeleton elites supported the other two corpses. Although Lu Yan is only level 10 now, with the increase in strength and a piece of equipment, it is relatively easy to deal with three unpredictable guys. Of the three people, only one was transferred to the combat profession, but it was only a little quicker. The necklace on his chest flickered, and then the corpse that Lu Yan was supporting disappeared, and Lu Yan put it into the storage space of the necklace. Then Lu Yan came into contact with the other two corpses and took them all in. Leaving the security booth, Lu Yan closed the door intimately. Compared with what I thought earlier, the security booth just lost the sound of punching and drinking. Then Lu Yan brought the two elite skeletons to the main building of the villa. This is a 3-story villa, with lights on every floor, singing and all kinds of noisy sounds coming from the 3rd floor. The 1st and 2nd floors are relatively quiet. Slowly opening the door, Lu Yan walked straight in. On the 1st floor is a hall with a set of exquisite sofas. There are 4 or 5 people sleeping on it. They are all over the place. Obviously, they have been drinking a lot. Lu Yan quickly brought the two skeleton elites around him to the front, directly beheading a few people, and collected the corpses neatly. These 4 or 5 people were killed in their sleep without any pain at all. Although it was the first time to do such a thing, Lu Yan was very professional. Compared with monsters, people are sometimes easy to kill, and sometimes difficult to kill. But now these people obviously belong to the former. Without making a sound, Lu Yan led the two elite skeletons towards the 2nd floor. There are several rooms on the 2nd floor, with a corridor in the middle. On both sides of the corridor, 2 gangsters in suits were smoking and chatting. The moment Lu Yan went upstairs, the two of them saw Lu Yan. "Isn't there someone down there? How come no one warned?" The two were stunned for a moment, but Lu Yan was already rushing in front of him, raising the black sickle in his hand, directly splitting them in half. Looking at the corpse separated on the ground, Lu Yan frowned. It's better to behead as much as possible. It's too unsightly. After collecting the corpse, there were people in the surrounding rooms who were not asleep, and the door was opened upon hearing the movement. Looking at the bloodstains on the ground, the person who came out did not hesitate, and directly charged towards Lu Yan with a weapon in hand. "How dare you?" Lu Yan shook his head, shook off the blood on the black bone sickle, and went up to meet him. The two skeleton elites behind him also rushed out, guarding Lu Yan's side. The black sickle in his hand kept swinging, and screams came from the front, and the person who rushed over was beheaded by Lu Yan without any accident. They didn't even hold on for a second in front of Lu Yan. These are all ordinary people, and Hu Wei can't raise a group of combat professionals as younger brothers. These guys are fine to scare ordinary people and low-level auxiliary occupations, but there is basically only one ending for people who are transferred to combat occupations. That's the rest of the food. Lu Yan carefully collected everyone's body. Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.com. Afterwards, Lu Yan began to open the doors one by one and entered to behead the remaining people. The screams kept ringing, but the singing, dancing, and shouting on the 3rd floor were so loud that they could be described as deafening, and the voices on the 2nd floor could not be heard at all. Until all the people on the 2nd floor were killed, the sound of singing and dancing on the 3rd floor continued, and it was completely unaffected. Lu Yan quickly headed towards the 3rd floor. However, as soon as they reached the 3rd floor, a harsh alarm sounded, which directly overwhelmed the deafening singing and dancing. Lu Yan frowned and looked at the infrared siren beside him. "I was careless. I didn't expect this guy to set up an early warning system on the 3rd floor. Although ghoul sneaking can avoid this kind of device, it still consumes a lot of money." Although the cooldown duration is not listed on the skill, but Lu Yan tested it at home. With his current strength, he can last for 3 minutes at most, and his strength will be completely depleted. This is after Lu Yan used all 5 essence tonics on his constitution. Physique is not only to increase defense strength and physical quality, including physical strength and the like, but also to improve through physical fitness. Ghoul sneaking consumes the power of the undead, but Lu Yan uses the power of the undead to consume stamina. In fact, Lu Yan's physique is still pretty good with the addition of equipment, but the consumption of ghoul sneaking is too high. So Lu Yan didn't plan to use the ghoul sneak when dealing with Hu Wei. Along with the piercing alarm sound, the singing and dancing fell instantly, and Hu Wei rushed out from a large private room in front with a group of younger brothers. Lu Yan carried the black bone sickle and went up to meet him directly. Now that you've been discovered, let's behead directly. When Hu Wei heard the alarm sound, he threw away the woman in his arms and grabbed the long sword on the table. Afterwards, he asked his younger brother to turn off the music. Although Hu Wei likes to have fun, he is more concerned about his own safety. Someone broke into the third floor without a sound, making him half sober. Holding a long sword in his hand, Hu Wei was more determined. After all, he was also a 20th level swordsman, and his strength was not weak. Rushing out of the room for fun, Hu Wei just wanted to go to the next door to get armor and equipment, but saw a man in armor and a black sickle in front of him rushing straight towards him. Feeling the oppression coming from the opponent, Hu Wei knew that he could no longer wear equipment, so he had to draw his sword to meet the enemy. There was no one else in Lu Yan's eyes, only Hu Wei in front of him. At this time, Hu Wei was still drunk. Although he was sober, he was definitely not as neat as usual. Coupled with the fact that the opponent has no equipment, it is a good time to kill. The skeleton elite behind him followed behind Lu Yan. The purpose was to stop the others around Hu Wei. Hu Wei bit his lip fiercely, and a wisp of blood seeped out, making him wake up a little bit again. The long sword in his hand was like a silver snake, heading towards the gap in Lu Yan's neck armor. Hu Wei's ability to rise to level 20 is considered to be very rich in combat experience, and his attack is very ruthless. The black bone scythe in Lu Yan's hand greeted him, and a crisp sound came from the contact between the two. A strong force came from the wrist, causing Lu Yan's right hand to go numb slightly. This Hu Wei obviously used his skills. The power of this blow is very strong. The only two fighting gangsters around Hu Wei wanted to help, but they were directly stopped by the two skeleton elites. Without any hesitation, Lu Yan lifted the black bone sickle and directly used the attached skill, Spirit Tide. The power in his body was consumed, and Lu Yan mobilized a lot of undead power to form a jet-black tidal substance that charged directly forward. Seeing this, Hu Wei suddenly retreated, waving the long sword in his hand, forming a curtain of sword light in front of him, trying to block the dark tide. Ling Tide rushed over and instantly knocked out several of Hu Wei's younger brothers, causing them all to twist their bodies on the ground while hugging and crying. Spirit Tide can intimidate and stiffen people in the fighting profession, and it will cause pain that directly affects the soul for ordinary people. The curtain of sword light in front of Hu Wei blocked part of the black tide, but part of it still entered Hu Wei's body. Spirit Tide is a kind of soul attack, which is relatively difficult to resist. Hu Wei's body froze suddenly, and Lu Yan jumped up instantly. The black bone sickle in his hand slashed directly towards Hu Wei's neck. After a brief moment of stiffness, Hu Wei raised his left arm and blocked it in front of him. The black bone sickle crossed, and Hu Wei's left arm was directly cut off, but his body quickly retreated, avoiding Lu Yan's follow-up attack. The biting pain made Hu Wei groan, and he was completely sober. Dare to break my arm? I will make you pay the price. Hu Wei stared fiercely at Lu Yan, gritted his teeth. Lu Yan didn't talk nonsense. He bullied himself again, taking advantage of his illness to kill him. Hu Wei raised the long sword in his hand, and the sword beam suddenly lit up. Although using this move will damage his body, he can't take care of that much at this time. Several sword beams appeared, surrounding Hu Wei's side, exuding a sharp breath, and under Hu Wei's mobilization, they headed directly towards Lu Yan. Despite Lu Yan's disregard, the two white figures quickly blocked Hu Wei's sword lights. Our two skeleton elites. Dead fury. Lu Yan snorted softly, and red light appeared in the bodies of the two skeleton elites, and their attributes doubled in an instant, directly resisting Hu Wei's blow. If there is no skeleton elite before the undead rampage, I am afraid that it will be directly shattered by these sword lights. But after Lu Yan unleashed the undead rage, the attributes of the two skeleton elites doubled, and they were still able to block Hu Wei's furious blow. However, the two skeleton elites were also full of cracks at this time, as if they would shatter in the next moment. Lu Yan let the two skeleton elites move away, and quickly came to Hu Wei, and then raised the black bone sickle in his hand. Hu Wei gritted his teeth, raised the sword in his right hand, and wanted to fight for the last time. However, Hu Wei then saw a dark shadow attacking him. It looks like a corpse. What does this guy want to do? Use corpses as hidden weapons? Before Hu Wei could react, the corpse in front of him suddenly burst open, and powerful energy bloomed in front of him instantly. At the same time, the two corpses under Hu Wei's feet also burst apart suddenly, and the force of the explosion directly wrapped Hu Wei's body inside. Corpse explosion. Grandmaster level. Activate the corpse to cause an explosion, causing damage within 1 cubic meter. The damage amount is 50% of the intelligence value, plus 50% of the strength value. Lu Yan waited until this time to use the corpse explosion skill, just to beat Hu Wei out of his sight. The huge explosion force directly overturned Hu Wei's body, and the long sword in his hand also fell to the ground. Before Hu Wei's body fell to the ground, Lu Yan came to his side, a cold light flashed, and Hu Wei's head was cut off. Hu Wei people are hot in the air, but they were already cold when they hit the ground. Lu Yan took a breath, although it seemed that he killed Hu Wei very easily and neatly. And it's actually quite simple. There was no way. Lu Yan was armed with gold equipment, and had various powerful skills, and Hu Wei was out of his reach, so it was reasonable to be killed easily. Even Hu Wei has level 20. Sometimes grades aren't everything. The other gangsters around were also dealt with by the skeleton elites long ago. Lu Yan dissipated the two skeleton elites and allowed them to recover from their injuries. Afterwards, Lu Yan started cleaning the surroundings. These corpses were all material for corpse explosions. Lu Yan didn't spare any of them, and they were all packed into the necklace space. Others used the storage items to store precious items, but Lu Yan is better, and it has become a place for corpses. After tidying up, Lu Yan pushed open the door of the room where Hu Wei came out, and checked it out. Except for a few slats, there was no one else inside. Ignoring the screams coming from inside, Lu Yan began to scrape from room to room. After all, Hu Wei was a 20th level swordsman, so he should have some background. Soon, Lu Yan found a set of equipment in another room. It is a set of equipment that mainly increases strength and agility. The attributes are not bad, it is silver level, and it is not a suit. This is the last room. Lu Yan has found something valuable so far, so this is the set of equipment. Lu Yan frowned slightly. This guy is so poor? Just such a set of equipment? Suddenly Lu Yan thought of something, released Hu Wei's body, checked it, and found a ring on his finger. It is a storage ring. Looking at the storage ring in his hand, Lu Yan nodded. Although this guy Hu Wei enjoys constantly and spends a lot of money, he does not only need a suit of armor and a long sword. After checking it, Lu Yan found that there were not many items in this storage ring. There were 500,000 energy crystals and some gold and silver. The space for the storage ring is very small, and this little thing is already full. No wonder Lu Yan wondered why Hu Wei didn't put the equipment in the storage items, because the storage ring space used was too small. However, the price of storage rings is still not low. Hu Wei, who is a mess, naturally won't spend a lot of money on a storage ring with a lot of space. Being able to store some precious items is enough for Hu Wei. After stuffing Hu Wei's equipment and this storage ring into his storage necklace, Lu Yan left the villa directly. Before leaving, Lu Yan destroyed all the electronic devices inside, including those of the sluts. Even if they were willing to go out in the rain to call the police, the time would be enough for Lu Yan's actions. Starting the car, Lu Yan went straight to the villa area of the members of Singa. The villa area of the members of Singa is located in the eastern suburbs. This is a newly developed area. The villa area where the members of Singa live can be regarded as a wealthy area. Of course, those who can live in this villa area are basically all of Singa's henchmen. The security of the villa area was very strict, and Lu Yan got out of the car when he was still 10 minutes drive away from the villa area. Afterwards, Lu Yan walked forward, in the rainy night, at a very fast speed. At this time, Lu Yan, who was wearing the wind spirit armor suit, was very agile and moved very fast. In 15 minutes, he arrived at his destination. Looking at the magnificent villa area ahead, Lu Yan's eyes flickered. The defense force here is still very strong. There are security booths at every intersection, and even on such a heavy rainy night, there are security teams constantly patrolling, and the number of people is even larger than normal. Moreover, there are various electronic early warning devices in it, and it is still relatively difficult to sneak in silently. Even if the information given by the old man contained a loophole in the defense of the villa area, it was aimed at the inside. Breaking through the encirclement on the first floor was a difficult problem. Without hesitation, Lu Yan directly mobilized the power of the undead and quickly covered his body. Ghost Sneak, Master Level, arouse the power of the undead, cover itself, hide the figure, pass through objects. The stronger the power of the undead, the better the concealment effect and the traversal effect. After using the ghoul to sneak, Lu Yan instantly felt that his body was cold, and then the whole body directly blurred, as if it had disappeared from the whole world. In this state, Lu Yan felt his speed soaring exponentially. At the same time, Lu Yan could clearly feel that the power in his body was rapidly being consumed. Without hesitation, Lu Yan charged straight ahead. In an instant, Lu Yan broke through the outermost line of defense and entered the villa area. None of the instruments and equipment issued an alarm, and Lu Yan went straight through a security booth without attracting any attention. As long as it wasn't for some specific investigative methods, such as the high-level magician exploring the array, it would be impossible to find Lu Yan, who was sneaking under the ghoul. The area where Wang Feng lives is located in the middle of this villa area. 30 seconds later, Lu Yan's figure quietly emerged from behind the courtyard wall of a villa. The pouring rain fell, so that there was no other sound around. Although it is possible to directly enter Wang Feng's villa with ghoul sneaking, it is too energy intensive, and the consumption of ghoul sneaking is still very high. Moreover, after he succeeded, Lu Yan still needed to use the ghoul to sneak out to escape. The power must be conserved, not completely consumed. However, the purchase of 100,000 pieces of information was not in vain. Lu Yan's eyes landed on a sewer opening on the side of the road not far away. He stepped forward to open it, and quickly got in. Rainwater keeps pouring into the sewers. If ordinary people enter, let alone walk in it, they may be washed away directly. Lu Yan naturally didn't need to worry. The armor on his body blocked all the rain. Fast forward along the sewer, Lu Yan turned around, and soon came to another sewer mouth. Feeling the footsteps of the patrolling personnel above, Lu Yan directly opened the sewer and went up. Closing the sewer entrance, Lu Yan looked at a small pink villa in front of him, his eyes slightly cold. This is where Wang Feng lives. Although the villa is not big, the location is very good. In the central area of the villa area, the security force is the best. The power of the undead once again covered the whole body, and Lu Yan's body was directly hidden from view. Afterwards, Lu Yan entered the small villa in front. According to the intelligence information, Wang Feng's small villa has only 2 floors. Wang Feng usually lives on the 2nd floor, and the 1st floor is lived by bodyguards and nanny. In addition, in the information, one person was mentioned in particular. Lu Feng. Wang Feng's bodyguard chief is also a combat professional, a fighter of the 23rd level. www.mtlnovel.com is very powerful and not weak. With the ghoul sneaking, Lu Yan entered the small villa directly. There was a security pavilion at the entrance, and there were also 4 bodyguards sitting on the 1st floor, watching the surroundings vigilantly. It was obvious that these bodyguards were completely different from Hu Wei's subordinates, and they were very professional. However, no matter how professional he was, he couldn't find Lu Yan. There should be other bodyguards in the room on the 1st floor, so Lu Yan went straight upstairs. When he came to the 2nd floor, Lu Yan swept his eyes and found several warning devices. If someone breaks in, these warning devices will sound immediately, but for Lu Yan now, these things are useless. There are also several security guards in the lobby on the 2nd floor, with firearms in their hands. It is worth mentioning that ordinary firearms do not pose much threat to combat professionals, except for special firearms, such as being enchanted. The firearms in the hands of these security guards are obviously enchanted, and each one is very valuable. I have to say that although Wang Feng's strength is not strong, his economic conditions are still very high. After all, he is a senior executive of Xinjia. After hesitating for a while, Lu Yan still did not choose to kill these security guards with enchanted firearms first. After all, his target is Wang Feng. If exposed, it will increase the risk. Lu Yan walked straight into Wang Feng's bedroom. The door could not stop Lu Yan now. As soon as he entered, Lu Yan saw 2 people intertwined on the bed. 2 people? Before Lu Yan could see the 2 people on the bed clearly, a fire suddenly lit up, and a pale red talisman appeared in midair, turning into a fire and heading towards Lu Yan's pavement. Lu Yan was discovered. Lu Yan's ghouls can't be discovered by ordinary exploration methods, but there is one exception. That is the advanced exploration method produced by auxiliary occupations majoring in exploration, such as the exploration of the magic circle, such as the talisman that appears in front of you. However, this kind of thing is of high value, and most people can't use it at all. Lu Yan expected Wang Feng to have such a thing. After all, with Wang Feng's worth, he could still afford such an item. Lu Yan knew how to use the black bone sickle in his hands, and directly split the firelight turned into a talisman in front of him. And at the same time his figure emerged. This kind of talisman is not very lethal, it is mainly to detect hidden objects, and then block it a little. The two people on the bed woke up in an instant, and Lu Yan saw that it was Wang Feng and Lu Feng on the bed. Lu Feng deserves to be a soldier of the 23rd level. When he realized the situation, he suddenly opened his eyes, slapped the bedboard, and jumped up. At the same time, Lu Feng took out a pear blossom axe from the storage necklace on his chest and held it in his hand. At the same time, a set of equipment also appeared, and Lu Feng just put it on. Lu Yan frowned. He was not expecting to be found, but Lu Feng was beyond his expectations here. Lu Yan originally planned that even if he was discovered, he would be able to kill Wang Feng quickly, and then use the ghoul to sneak out of here. But who would have thought that this Lu Feng protected Wang Feng to the bed? At this time, Wang Feng looked at Lu Yan, who was holding a black sickle and was wearing armor that he couldn't see clearly. The white rabbit was so frightened that he hid behind Lu Feng. The people outside also heard the movement here, footsteps sounded, and they were rushing towards this side. Lu Yan summoned two elite skeletons, and let one of them deal with the people outside the door, and the other one rushed towards Lu Feng in front of him with him. Although I didn't expect Lu Feng and Wang Feng to be in the same room, they could only get hard. At this time, Lu Feng only put on a stomach and 2 wrist braces, and Lu Yan had already killed him. How courageous! Those who dare to assassinate Arzinga here! Lu Feng roared, holding a pear blossom axe and heading towards Lu Yan. Undead nether armor? Nether soul scythe. Lu Yan roared angrily, and the dark undead ghost armor covered the wind spirit armor on his body. Afterwards, the black bone sickle in his hand also covered the effect of the ghost sickle, exuding a strong undead breath. Facing Lu Feng, Lu Yan directly used his current strongest state without any reservations. Boom! The black bone sickle covering the ghost sickle and the pear blossom axe in Lu Feng's hand came into contact, and instantly made a dull sound. Lu Feng felt a numbness in his wrist, and a huge force came, and his body took 2 steps back. A strange color flashed in his eyes. Lu Feng looked at Lu Yan in front of him, and his expression became solemn. This guy has an aura of undead, so he should be a necromancer, but how could the opponent's strength be so strong? Although he didn't use any skills, he was a warrior of 23. Lu Yan also took 2 steps back and stabilized the black bone sickle covered with the ghost sickle in his hand. He basically added his own attribute points to his strength, plus the bonus of his equipment. He was barely able to compete with Lu Feng. Compared with the strength of the 23 warriors, it is still a bit difficult. Wang Feng, who was behind Lu Feng, also reacted and hurriedly used his strength. One after another, dark vines drilled out of the surrounding rooms and quickly attacked Lu Yan. Wang Feng's summoning ability is plant-based. This dark vine is poisonous, and it will be troublesome to get entangled. Can't be here for too long. Dead fury. Lu Yan frowned, and then rushed forward again. As for the surrounding dark vines, they were stopped and cut off by the violent skeleton elite. Humph! There was a cold light in Lu Feng's eyes. He could feel that the opponent's strength was not very strong. If he gave him 3 minutes, he would definitely be able to kill this guy. The foot sank. Lu Feng mobilized the strength of his body, and the pear blossom axe in his hand was covered with a fiery red aura. At the same time, a fiery red also appeared on Lu Feng's body, which instantly boosted his breath a lot. The pear blossom axe in his hand was swung from bottom to top, and Lu Feng directly greeted Lu Yan with an axe. Lu Yan also raised the black bone sickle covering the ghost sickle in his hand, jumped up, and slashed downward from top to bottom. The two went up and down, and the weapons came into contact again. Boom! The huge power surged out instantly, directly knocking down the walls on both sides. But this time, Lu Yan was unable to resist Lu Feng's strength, and his body flew out. Instantly. However, Lu Feng saw several shadows attacking him. Taking a closer look, it turned out to be one after another of corpses. What's the situation? The corpse summoned by the opponent? No matter what it is, just cut it off? Lu Feng twisted his waist, and the pear blossom axe in his hand slashed directly at the corpses. However, as soon as the pear blossom axe in Lu Feng's hand touched these corpses, a huge force bloomed from it, bursting the corpses apart. Boom, boom, boom. With Lu Yan using the power of the corpse explosion, all the corpses that flew towards Lu Feng exploded, and the huge force instantly wrapped Lu Feng in front of him. Corpse explosion. Grandmaster level. Activate the corpse to cause an explosion, causing damage within 1 cubic meter. The damage amount is 50% of the intelligence value, plus 50% of the strength value. Lu Yan's corpse explosion has a strength bonus, and with the bonus of the wind spirit suit on Lu Yan's body, the power of the explosion is still very impressive. What's more, so many corpses exploded together. At the moment when the explosion sounded, Lu Yan had already stabilized his body. Without any hesitation, Yu reading www.yuyukanshu.com. Lu Yan stepped on his feet suddenly, and his body rushed out quickly. The power of the undead covered the body, instantly blurring Lu Yan's body. At the same time, Lu Yan's speed was greatly improved, and he directly crossed the explosion area in front and came to Wang Feng, who was staying away from the corpse explosion area. The body emerged again, and a wave of black waves instantly hit the black bone sickle covered with the ghost sickle in his hand. Spirit Tide? The black wave rushed over, directly making Wang Feng's body stiff when he found Lu Yan's face shocked and wanted to react. Although it was only for a moment, it was enough for Lu Yan. The black bone sickle covering the ghost sickle in his hand slid across Wang Feng's neck, directly cutting off her head. A whole set of actions flows smoothly, not a second of time is wasted. Wang Feng's eyes widened, and she was very unwilling to watch her perspective revolve, and then fell into darkness. Wang Feng was well protected and basically had no actual combat experience, otherwise it wouldn't have taken so long to reach the 10th level. If it was an ordinary summoner, he wouldn't be killed by Lu Yan so easily. The corpse explosion on the side only slowly dissipated at this time, revealing the figure of Lu Feng. At this time, Lu Feng was a little embarrassed, but he didn't suffer any injuries, only the unprotected legs were slightly injured. On his body, the fiery red layer has dimmed a lot, and only a few are still wrapped around the body. Lu Feng clenched the pear blossom axe in his hand, and just wanted to continue fighting, but was stunned. The guy with the black sickle disappeared, and even the elite skeleton disappeared. Only Wang Feng's headless body was left on the ground. A 10-minute drive from the villa area, Lu Yan's figure quietly appeared beside the car parked on the roadside. The heavy rain is still falling, and it is getting heavier. Back in the car, Lu Yan gasped for breath, feeling that the strength in his body was about to be exhausted. Driving to a small river in the west of the city, Lu Yan drove directly into the river that was swelled by the rainstorm. Ahead. After sending the car into the river, Lu Yan quickly returned, and when he was about to get home, he used the ghoul to sneak again, and returned home quietly. After releasing the ghoul from sneaking, removing the armor, and putting it into the storage necklace together with the weapon, Lu Yan fell on the bed. By this time, he was exhausted. Killing Hu Wei and Wang Feng did not consume much of Lu Yan's strength. Even if Lu Feng surprised Lu Yan on Wang Feng's bed, Lu Yan did not fight him too much. The main consumption is all on ghoul sneaking. This ability is very strong in concealment, but it is also very expensive. That Lu Feng is very strong. He's not like Hu Wei's wine bag and rice bag. If he was left behind, he would probably be AG. However, the effect of the corpse explosion is better than I imagined. The power of the explosion is very strong, and it can be superimposed. The power consumption of triggering the corpse explosion is also very small. This battle has given me a lot of combat experience. Sure enough, fighting against people is much more difficult than fighting against monsters. Some thoughts appeared in Lu Yan's mind, and then he fell into a deep sleep. An hour after Lu Yan fell asleep, a figure came to the opposite side of Lu Yan's floor, took out various equipment and aimed at Lu Yan's room. After a while, this figure made a call. "Boss, this guy is sleeping. He is sleeping soundly. He is just a candidate who just finished the college entrance examination. You should be thinking too much. After speaking, the figure put away the equipment and left quickly. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Lu Yan opened his eyes, but his head was still a little groggy. It seems that in the future, more free attribute points should be added to intelligence. Although he is the undead monarch, his strength also has a blessing on the effect of skills, but the consumption of skills is basically physical and mental strength. Intelligence is still very important to him. The college entrance examination added so much power, just because the means at that time could only maximize the power. Attribute points in the future should be mainly added to intelligence and physique. If there are more, we will talk about it later. Lu Yan took a shower and was about to take a drink when there was a knock on the door. Raising his eyebrows, Lu Yan quickly opened the door. A woman in business attire stood outside the door, holding a microphone in her hand, followed by a big photographer. "Hello, is this classmate Lu Yan? I'm Yang Qian, the host of Linen Satellite TV. May I do an interview with you?" Lu Yan looked up and down at Yang Qian in front of her. She was quite famous in Linen. Known as the most beautiful host in Linen, Yang Wei had a crush on her for a while, but he soon turned to a professional teacher. Yang Qian looked even better than on TV, but Lu Yan didn't show any surprises about the appearance of the other party. "My performance in the college entrance examination must have attracted the attention of many people. After all, as a necromancer, he quickly passed the college entrance examination with nightmare level difficulty. When others don't know his hidden occupation of the undead monarch, this news can be said to be very shocking. If you don't have any secrets about yourself, no one will believe them. Whether it is the speed of clearing the nightmare level difficulty or the identity of the necromancer assessment, these reporters and hosts will definitely find him. This is also an important reason why Lu Yan attacked Hu Wei and Wang Feng last night." Lu Yan gathered his thoughts and looked at Yang Qian in front of him and said, "Is there any benefit for me to accept your interview?" Yang Qian was stunned for a moment, but she didn't expect that Lu Yan, who quickly passed the nightmare level difficulty assessment, would say such a sentence. "LV Yan, you should also know Linen Satellite TV. Our interviews can increase your popularity and help you gain the attention of colleges and universities, you see." Before Yang Qian could finish speaking, Lu Yan interrupted her directly. "Although the results of the college entrance examination have not come out yet, but based on my college entrance examination situation, it should be a matter of course to get the attention of major universities. Also, a necromancer cleared nightmare difficulty. What's the reason behind it? This should be a matter of great concern, right? I believe that all the major media in Linen should have their eyes on me. It's just that you came faster." Lu Yan squinted slightly and looked at Yang Qian in front of him. In order to kill Hu Wei and Wang Feng, his school rewards could basically be spent. "Come over for an interview, you must give something good, right?" Yang Qian understood what Lu Yan meant, and frowned slightly. "Then I don't know what conditions Lu Yan has to accept our interview." The necromancer clearing the nightmare difficulty www.mtlnovel.com is a huge explosion. If it wasn't for the candidate's video, which was released last night, when it was pouring rain, she would have rushed over last night. I just didn't expect that Lu Yan would ask for a reward when he opened his mouth. However, if you are able to interview the other party, you can also pay some money." Lu Yan stretched out a palm and said, 500,000 energy coins. "What?" Yang Qian exclaimed, "Impossible. 500,000 energy coins are 5 million in ordinary currency." As the top host of Linen Satellite TV, her salary is only 100,000 energy coins a year, and this guy's mouth is 500,000 energy coins. Lu Yan said with a smile, "You can think about it carefully. I believe that the story behind the necromancer's quick clearance of nightmare difficulty is not only concerned by Linen City, but the whole country and even the whole world should be concerned. This is a big international news. You are the first to come here, so I will give you the friendship price. When another reporter and host will come, it will not be the same price. If you agree, I can guarantee that your interview will be absolutely exclusive, and I will not hide anything from your questions." Listening to Lu Yan's words, Yang Qian's expression changed several times, and then she looked at Lu Yan with a complicated expression. "I want to ask the leader, you wait a moment." Afterwards, Yang Qian turned around and called the leader. Soon, Yang Qian came back to look at Lu Yan and said, "At most 300,000 energy coins, no more." Lu Yan looked at Yang Qian and said with a smile, "You can ask your leaders again, but hurry up. Another reporter friend should be here soon." Yang Qian bit her lip, then looked at Lu Yan and said, "Okay, just 500,000 energy coins. I'll give you another 200,000 energy coins myself." Lu Yan was stunned for a moment, but he didn't expect Yang Qian to be so decisive. But Lu Yan didn't hesitate, and said directly, "My card number is 6210. After the transfer is over, the interview can begin." Yang Qian quickly transferred money and was invited to the house by Lu Yan. Sitting on the sofa, Yang Qian didn't say anything polite, and after asking the cameraman to turn on the camera, he went straight in. "Let's ask Lu Yan, isn't the necromancer the weakest combat class? How did you pass the nightmare difficulty with the necromancer class? And you got such a good result as 15 minutes and 20 seconds. Yang Qian handed the microphone to Lu Yan's mouth. Lu Yan said with a smile, "The necromancer is the weakest combat profession. That's because you know little about the necromancer, and the monsters in this assessment are undead creatures, and the necromancer also has some advantages." Yang Qian frowned and said, "But as far as I know, there are some who have been transferred to necromancers this year, but they all passed the normal difficulty test very hard, and some even failed the normal difficulty test." Lu Yan continued, "There is also a difference between a necromancer and a necromancer. Besides, I am also very talented in the power of the undead." "Talent?" Yang Qian raised her eyebrows. "That's right, if it wasn't for the extremely high talent in undead power, my master wouldn't accept me." "Master?" Yang Qian keenly noticed these two words. "Ah? What master? Did I say master?" Lu Yan looked at Yang Qian with a strange expression. "Student Lu Yan, you did mention your master just now. I don't know who your master is. Does he have anything to do with you getting such a good grade in the college entrance examination?" Yang Qian looked at Lu Yan with a smile on her face, but her fists clenched tightly. "Boy, the old lady paid the money. You won't hide what you said just now, don't play tricks with the old lady here." Lu Yan secretly laughed in his heart. He accepted the interview just to elicit his so-called master. Immediately, Lu Yan said with an annoyed expression, "Oh, I said it smoothly for a while, but I can't tell you too much. I can only tell you that my master is a powerful necromancer. He is very accomplished in the power of the undead. He found me 3 years ago and said that I was very talented in the power of the undead and wanted to accept me as a disciple. I thought he was a liar at the time, but when he summoned 2 epic bone dragons, I realized how powerful my master is. He has also been helping me practice the power of the undead, so that I can successfully awaken the necromancer profession." Yang Qian looked at Lu Yan dumbfounded and asked, "Do you mean that your teacher helped you learn the power of the undead in advance, so that you could successfully awaken the undead mage profession?" It is someone who can guide students to change careers into a specific occupation. But without exception, the people who can achieve this level are at least rank 2 people, and they have to be the top figures in rank 2. Of course, have you watched the video of my assessment? The extremely strong defensive armor and the extremely sharp sickle on my body are the skills that my master passed down on me. If I didn't have those 2 skills, it would be impossible for me to challenge the nightmare difficulty." Yang Qian was shocked. She didn't expect that the reason why Lu Yan's college entrance examination scores were so good was because there was a powerful master behind him. That powerful armor and powerful size are undead skills that have never appeared before. To be able to achieve this level, Lu Yan's teacher is definitely the pinnacle in the attainment of the power of the dead. It can even be said that he is a master-level character. However, such a result seems to be very easy to accept. After all, the necromancer can clear the nightmare-level difficulty, and the speed is so fast. Without such a teacher behind, how could it be possible? Next, Yang Qian asked a few more questions, and Lu Yan answered them seriously without any perfunctory. After Yang Qian left satisfied, Lu Yan sat on the sofa and recalled the whole process. There should be no mistakes. Until then, Lu Yan breathed a sigh of relief and rubbed his temples. Lu Yan had already thought about the content of the interview that he was going to accept today when he was about to attack Hu Wei and Wang Feng yesterday. The most important thing in today's interview is to reveal that I am a master who is very accomplished in the power of the undead. because Liu Yan knew that Xingyo was powerful and ruthless. Since they have already set their sights on themselves, they will not let themselves go because of such performance in the college entrance examination. On the contrary, this will speed up the pace of being eliminated by Xingge. Liu Yan wanted to save his life, let alone swallow his breath, so he chose to kill Hu Wei and Wang Feng, and then pushed everything to his master. It can not only breathe out, but also shock Xingge. For a deeply involved underground force like Xingge, other methods have little effect. Liu Yan also wouldn't believe that Director Li verbally warned Xingge to prevent himself from being poisoned by Xingge. Only with great strength can Xingge be afraid. I don't have this kind of strength yet, but I can construct such strength. Xingge, an orphan who only performed well in the college entrance examination, might not care. But coupled with a teacher with a powerful undead power behind him, reading www.uukangsha.com is enough to make Xingge fear. Of course, this kind of rhetoric cannot withstand too long scrutiny. But Liu Yan didn't need too long. Just wait for your college entrance examination results to come out, and then join a college. Different from the theoretical teaching of elementary, middle, and high school, after arriving in colleges and universities, it is all kinds of practical teaching and tasks. Teachers and students fight together, and the bond between each other will be deeper, which is basically the relationship between the master and the disciple of the sect. University classmates are also equivalent to the same class. At that time, the people standing behind Liu Yan were the teachers and students of the entire department and even the entire university. At that time, Xingge would definitely not provoke him. Even if he knew that there was no so-called teacher with powerful undead power behind him, he would have to suffer this dumb loss. But Sister Luo Li's hatred will not be calculated like this. After I enter the college to improve my strength, I will ask you to settle the account. There was a hint of hatred in Liu Yan's eyes, and then he simply ate something and started to exercise. Today's task is not yet completed. An hour later, Liu Yan completed today's daily task. This daily task is arranged according to his physical condition. Now that his physical strength has become higher, the difficulty of the task has also increased. Allot today's tasks: sit UPS, 500/500, burpees, 300/300, pull UPS, 600/600. Completed today's task, you can choose to get one of the following rewards. Reward 1, get 6 free attribute points. Reward 2, get 3 skill attribute points and 3 free attribute points. Reward 3, get a copy of this occupation skill book. The rewards of the daily tasks are also random. Today's task rewards are good. There are 6 free attribute points or 3 free attribute points and 3 skill attributes or a book of professional skills. Liu Yan thought about it for a while, and chose 3 free attribute points and 3 skill attribute points. Liu Yan now has a lot of free attribute points, although most of them are in strength, and compared to free attributes, skill levels are more difficult to improve. As for the occupation skill book, Liu Yan has a good number of skills now, and priority should be given to improving attributes and skill levels. Otherwise, Sora has a lot of skills, but it's not enough if he doesn't have the power to use it. Liu Yan checked his current attributes. Strength, 4-7 physique, 2-2 agility, 12 intelligence, 2-0. The physique has those 5 essence supplements, and it has reached 22. Liu Yan directly added 3 free attribute points to intelligence. Strength, 4-7 physique, 2-2 agility, 12 intelligence, 2-3 with the remaining 3 skill attribute points and 1 remaining attribute point. Liu Yan now has 4 skill attribute points. After the skill level is 3, it is not a skill attribute point plus 1 level. According to different levels, the skill attribute points required for upgrading are also different. For example, Skeleton Elite and Undead Rage now require 3 skill attribute points to upgrade to level 4, while Undead Nether Armor requires 6 skill attribute points to upgrade to level 4. Therefore, Liu Yan added 3 skill attribute points to the Wraith Scythe, and then kept the remaining 1 skill attribute point, which will be discussed later. Nether Soul Scythe rank, exclusive skill level, level 3. Condensing the power of the undead, the sickle summoned from the nether increases the attack by 40%, the duration is 5 minutes, and the cooling time is 4 hours and 30 minutes. Note, Nether Soul Scythe can act on the soul, and attacks with Nether Soul Scythe can cause 50% soul damage. Note: the Wraith Scythe can be condensed into an entity after being upgraded to level 10 and converted into an exclusive weapon, which is not limited by the duration and cooling time. Note: consuming a soul crystal can double the effect of the Wraith Scythe, but the duration will be reduced by 1 minute. After the Wraith Scythe has been upgraded to level 3, the attack increase has increased a lot, the duration has increased, and the cooldown has been decreased, which is a good improvement. Just after the promotion, Lu Yan's door was knocked again, and it was other reporters who came. Lu Yan sent it away in a few words. Since he received the money, it must be an exclusive report for Yingqian. After dispatching these reporters, Lu Yan set off to the hospital to see Luo Liulai. When they got to the hospital, Luo Liulai had already woken up, but her brows were still slightly frowned. Although there are qi and blood supplements to enhance the constitution and relieve the pain, Luo Liulai can still clearly feel the piercing pain. It's like a long sword scraping a bone. But when she saw Lu Yan, Luo Liulai had a smile on her face. "Xiao Yan, what are you doing here? Take a good rest. After the college entrance examination, you can go out to play with your classmates. I'm in a senior ward. Everything is very convenient, so you don't have to worry about it." Lu Yan looked at the smile on Luo Liulai's face, clenched his palms tightly, and then smiled. "It's okay, I had a good rest yesterday, and I have nothing to do at home." After chatting with Luo Liulai for a while, Lu Yan's cell phone rang. "It's Yang Wei. Brother Yan, you didn't miss my call today. I had something to do yesterday, so I should be free today, right?" Lu Yan smiled and said, "I'm fine today, but I'm thinking about food. Don't worry, I'll give you a meal today." Yang Wei is his only friend, so this meal must be eaten. Yang Wei said, "Brother Yan, how can I ask you to invite me? I've already reserved a room. Ronghua Fugui is in box 303 on the 3rd floor. You can come directly at noon. I'll wait for you." After speaking, Yang Wei didn't give Lu Yan a chance to speak, so he just hung up the phone. Hearing the busy voice in his ear, Lu Yan smiled and shook his head. This Yang Wei knows that he is a follower, and he usually pays for food and water. However, Lu Yan was not polite to him either. "Before my friends, there is no need to say so much. Someone is looking for you, Xiao Yan, just go and do your work, don't accompany me here." Luo Liulai looked at Lu Yan and said. Lu Yan nodded and said, "A friend wants to have a meal together. I'll go over there, Sister Liulai, don't worry, I will cure you." Luo Liulai smiled and nodded, watching Lu Yan leave. The smile on her face disappeared, and Luo Liulai frowned slightly again. The constant pain even made her sleepless at night. But she still insisted that Luo Liulai who came out of the orphanage was stronger than Lu Yan. She didn't want to be a burden to Lu Yan. But she wouldn't have the so-called idea of dying to lighten Lu Yan's burden, so it's just the most cowardly thing to do. In the headquarters office of Singa, Boss Singa is sitting behind the desk, tapping his fingers on the table. However, the percussion sound did not have the same regularity as before, and it seemed a bit messy. Lu Feng www.mtlnovel.com. You played against that person, according to his strengths. A faint voice sounded, causing Lu Feng, who was standing respectfully below, to tighten. "Boss, we've only met twice. To be honest, the opponent's strength is very strong. If it is a necromancer, such a strong strength is only a weak blessing brought by the level increase, and it is estimated that the level is no lower than 40. But the corpse explosion force used by the opponent is not so strong, it seems that the level is not high." The person behind the desk was silent for a while, and then continued to ask, "Is it possible that the person who fought with you is Lu Yan?" "Impossible? Absolutely impossible," Lu Feng said firmly without hesitation. "Boss, I watched Lu Yan's college entrance examination battle video, and I have to say that the opponent is indeed a guy with great talent in the power of the undead, but it is impossible to hold it in my hands twice. Besides, the other party gave me a strong sense of undead spirit at the time. It didn't look like he just changed jobs. It should be his master mentioned in the news." How did Lu Feng know that the reason why he felt that Lu Yan had a strong undead aura was because Lu Yan was the undead monarch? The person behind the desk was silent again, and then said, "A master who can summon an epic bone dragon is really difficult. Lu Feng, please stop the killer who took over the task of assassinating Lu Yan. The bounty will be paid. Inform the people of Singa, try to take a detour when encountering Lu Yan." A high-level necromancer is not terrible, but a necromancer who can summon an epic bone dragon is terrible. If the opponent has the means to summon large-scale undead creatures and anger the opponent, Singa will not have any good fruit to eat. For a Lu Yan, it's not worth it. At the noon restaurant, Lu Yan came directly to the prosperity and wealth of the downtown building. This is the central area of the entire Linen, and the location is very good. Ronghua Fugui Restaurant occupies the 5th floor of the entire central building, and is considered the most high-end restaurant in Linen. Looking at the style of Ronghua Fugui Restaurant, Lu Yan had a new understanding of Yingwei's financial resources. Entering inside, the waiter greeted him respectfully, and knowing that he was a distinguished guest at 303 on the 3rd floor, the manager directly took Lu Yan upstairs. The manager opened room 303, and Lu Yan saw Yang Wei picking his nose with Erlang's legs up and smearing it on the tablecloth. "Brother Yan, here we come." Seeing Lu Yan, Yang Wei greeted him eagerly, waved the manager away, and then brought Lu Yan to the ultra-luxurious dining table inside. "Brother Yan, the dishes have been ordered, just waiting for you." With that said, Lu Yan tapped the button on the dining table to notify the chef below that it was time to start cooking. Lu Yan looked at Yang Wei and scolded with a smile, "You boy, you used to be called Xiao Lu Xiao Yan, how can you be like Brother Yan now?" Yang Wei immediately said, "That's different, Brother Yan, you don't know, your college entrance examination video has already spread, and I don't know how many people know your name. Let's not say anything else, after my dad knew that I was your friend, he directly gave me 5 million energy coins to reward my vision. This is the time I have the most faith in front of my father. You will be my brother Yan from now on. My admiration for you is like." Lu Yan hurriedly stretched out his hand. "Stop, don't do this shit, you kid has nothing to do with being courteous, either a traitor or a thief, shouldn't it be so easy to invite me to dinner?" Lu Yan knew very well that Yang Wei, if he wanted to eat and play with himself, he would definitely choose it at night, not at noon. Hearing this, Yang Wei showed an embarrassed look on his face, then looked at Lu Yan and said, "Brother Yan, isn't it because you are too famous? You don't know, there are a lot of people who want to see you now, and my dad told me to take you back for a meal." "Why did you take me back to see your dad for a meal? It's like taking your boyfriend back." Lu Yan looked at Yang Wei and scolded with a smile. Yang Wei smiled and said, "I just want you to be my boyfriend right now. I don't think any of the juniors in our school would like it. The college entrance examination is complete and many junior girls are fascinated by you. Let me tell you, you left early at that time, otherwise you would be able to say goodbye to the little virgin directly that night. Go, don't be sloppy, tell me, come to me for dinner at noon, what should be the matter?" Yang Wei nodded, then embarrassedly said, "That's right, Brother Yan, I was very excited when I saw your video, so I reposted the video in the circle of friends, and the accompanying text said that you are my friend. And then, a friend found me and asked me to take her to see you." Hearing this, Lu Yan raised his eyebrows and said, "This friend doesn't have an ordinary relationship with you, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't ask me out first to discuss this matter." Yang Wei said excitedly, "It's still Brother Yan, you understand me. If it's an ordinary person, I want him directly. But this friend's family is a close friend of ours. Although we haven't seen each other a few times, the parents of both parties are very close. She insists on it, and I can't do anything about it." Lu Yan patted Yang Wei's shoulder when he heard the words, "Okay, what a big deal, isn't it just meeting someone? You don't have to be so nervous, you are my only friend, it's a small matter." Hearing Lu Yan's words, Yang Wei was stunned for a moment, and then there was a touch of emotion in his eyes. "Haha, Xiao Yan, I knew you were the best buddy. I made that friend wait. Since you agreed, I'll let her come over." Lu Yan nodded. Yang Wei said so, of course he wanted to see him. Soon, 303's door was pushed open, and a girl walked in. The girl is slender, with a gentle and generous temperament, wearing a light-colored long dress, which makes people feel good at first glance. When she came to the dining table, the girl looked at Lu Yan and said excitedly, "Senior Lu Yan, hello, I finally see you in person." Yang Wei stood up and introduced, "Brother Yan, this is Shi Yuhan, the third young lady of the poets in Suzhou and Hangzhou." "Yuhan, I don't need to introduce you to Brother Yan." With a smile on her face, Shi Yuhan stretched out her hand to look at Lu Yan and said, Senior Lu Yan, hello. Lu Yan looked at Shi Yuhan in front of him, nodded, then stretched out his hand and shook it lightly. The hands are warm and tender, as if boneless, which makes people's hearts sway. I have to say that this Shi Yuhan is perfect in terms of appearance, temperament, and figure, and belongs to the existence that completely slaps Lu Yan. And his school beauty. Sister Yuhan shouldn't be from our school, right? Lu Yan looked at Shi Yuhan and asked. With Shi Yuhan's appearance, if he was in number 4 high school, it is impossible for Lu Yan not to have heard of it. Shi Yuhan smiled and said, yes, I'm from Linen number 1 high school, and now it's normal for Senior Lu Yan to not know about me. Lu Yan nodded. Linen number 1 high school could be regarded as an aristocratic school, and it was normal for Shi Yuhan to be in it. Then Lu Yan glanced at Yang Wei next to him. He had underestimated this guy's background before. Yang Wei's family and this Shi Yuhan are family friends, and their economic strength should also be very strong. Why is Yang Wei in number 4 high school? Senior Lu Yan, can I ask you some questions? Shi Yuhan looked at Lu Yan with a smile on her face, but her eyes were filled with indescribable excitement. Lu Yan was stunned for a moment, but before he could speak, Yang Wei, who was beside him, said, Brother Yan, Shi Yuhan likes to study the undead since she was a child, and she always wanted to be a necromancer. Listening to Yang Wei's words, Lu Yan gave Shi Yuhan a strange look. If it is true, as Yang Wei said, then this Shi Yuhan in front of him is really a strange one. Yu reading www.yuukangsha.com. Necromancer is known as the weakest combat profession, and it is too late for others to hide. She actually likes it and wants to be a necromancer. However, I heard that this kind of wealthy children have special private teachers to help guide their own strength, so as to ensure that they can change jobs into a satisfactory career when they change jobs. Although I don't say 100%, it has a high success rate. Her family shouldn't want her to be transferred to a necromancer, right? You ask, as long as I can answer, I will tell you everything. Lu Yan looked at Shi Yuhan and said. Shi Yuhan nodded, and then began to ask Lu Yan questions. These are some rather strange questions, such as, why Lu Yan's undead skills are so powerful, and is there any way to improve the effects of undead skills, etc. Lu Yan answered all those who could answer seriously, while those who could not answer directly, Lu Yan put it on the talented and trumped-up teachers. At this time, the dishes also began to be served, and the three of them chatted and ate. The smile on Shi Yuhan's face became stronger and stronger. Obviously she was very satisfied with the meeting with Lu Yan this time. After eating, they briefly chatted for a while. Seeing that Shi Yuhan was almost done asking, Yang Wei took Lu Yan and left. When Yang Wei and Lu Yan left, Shi Yuhan recalled what she said just now, with a look of excitement in her eyes. Afterwards, Shi Yuhan looked at Lu Yan's napkin with a hesitant expression. But soon, she picked up the napkin and covered her face. Breathing in suddenly, feeling the smell of Lu Yan in it, Shi Yuhan raised the corners of her mouth, her eyes rolled up, revealing the whites of her eyes, and a look of extreme satisfaction appeared on her face. Such a special undead breath, I really want him. When Lu Yan and Yang Wei left the restaurant, they headed towards the house that Yang Wei rented. Now Lu Yan is sure that his house must be surrounded by reporters, so he might as well go to Yang Wei's house first. By the way, Yang Wei, I haven't asked you how you performed in the college entrance examination. What did your special summoning technique summon in the college entrance examination? Lu Yan sat in the co-pilot and asked Yang Wei, who was driving. As soon as Yang Wei heard this, an uncontrollable smile appeared on his face. Brother Yan, you would never have thought that I summoned something during the college entrance examination. You will be shocked when you say it. Lu Yan raised his eyebrows. It seems that something good has been summoned. This time the college entrance examination was good, right? Yang Wei frowned and said, it's not just a good thing, I summoned a dragon. A giant dragon. Brother Yan, you don't know. At that time, I hid to the side, and the giant dragon wiped out all the undead creatures with 3 strikes. My final clearance score was 19 minutes and 20 seconds. If it wasn't for the dragon not being manipulated by me, I would definitely be able to control the time within 15 minutes, or even within 10 minutes. Unfortunately, I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to summon anything good, so I finally chose the ordinary difficulty. Otherwise, my college entrance examination points would definitely be very high. After Yang Wei finished the college entrance examination, he was ready to show off to Lu Yan, but unfortunately Lu Yan didn't answer a few phone calls. Later, Yang Wei saw Lu Yan's college entrance examination video, and the strong desire to show off in his heart was instantly shattered. Now that Lu Yan mentioned it, he was excited again. It is correct to choose normal difficulty. If you summon a summon, you will still have a chance to clear the level. But you don't have to regret it. Summoners' grades are generally not important. As long as the summons are strong, many universities will recruit them specially. Listening to Lu Yan's words, Yang Wei also smiled and said, "Hey, that's right. Seeing the giant dragon I summoned, it is estimated that the major colleges and universities will me crazy. Anyway, they don't know that my summoning ability is random. They probably think that my summoned object is a giant dragon." The two soon came to the house rented by Yang Wei and chatted for a while. Yang Wei looked at Lu Yan and asked, "By the way, Brother Yan, which college are you going to? With your grades, you can basically get into every major college, right?" Lu Yan's eyes flickered. "This has not been decided yet. Let's take a look when the time comes. Now that the college entrance examination results have not been released, everything is still unknown." Yang Wei nodded. "Brother Yan, tell me what school you're going to choose, and I'll choose a school for you." Lu Yan nodded, not to mention other things. As long as the people in the high school thought that Yang Wei's summon was a giant dragon, no matter what the score, he would definitely make a special move. For the next 2 days, Lu Yan stayed in the house rented by Yang Wei. Because his place has been pulled out, a large number of reporters are squatting to guard him. In the past 2 days, apart from eating, exercising, chatting and playing games with Yang Wei, Lu Yan went to the hospital to see Luo Liulai. On the 4th day after the college entrance examination, 3 days have passed, and it is time to announce the results of the college entrance examination. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Lu Yan was exercising in his room, finishing today's task. By the way, yesterday's quest reward was not very good. The 3 options were not good. Lu Yan finally chose 4 skill attribute points. And today's task reward is good. Ren Qi still really wants to complete it sooner. While doing burpee, Yang Wei rushed in with his phone in hand. "Brother Yan, the college entrance examination results are out. You are the first in the city of Linen and the first in the province of Suzhou and Hangzhou." Yang Wei was very excited at this time, as if he had won the first place in Suzhou and Hangzhou. Lu Yan was also stunned. "Although I know that my college entrance examination results will not be bad, the top 3 in the province are certain, but I didn't expect it to be the first in the province. You must know that in the entire Suzhou-Hangzhou province, Linen City's college entrance examination scores have always been relatively low, and it is the first time that Linen City is the first in the whole province." The entire Linen City was boiling in an instant. "Fuck! The provincial champion has appeared in our Linen City. It's awesome, it's a miracle that the necromancer becomes the champion. Ha ha ha, I've already said that our Linen is going to be a dragon this year. You always say that I'm a blind fortune teller. Now you believe I'm a fortune teller master." Major newspapers and news also published this news one after another, and videos of Lu Yan's college entrance examination were also spread wildly on the internet. There are many provincial champions, but as a professional necromancer, there is only one provincial champion. For a time, all kinds of discussions about necromancers also rose. Necromancers can become provincial champions. Does that mean that it was wrong to think that necromancers were the weakest combat profession? You're wrong. Don't you know how many lessons you've learned? How many are those who have changed careers to become necromancers with strong combat effectiveness? This Lu Yan is just a special case. I don't care, I'm about to become a necromancer. Look how handsome Lu Yan is holding that black sickle. It's not me who hit you upstairs. You reading www.uukangshu.com. Necromancer's weapon is a staff. From Lu Yan's weapon it can be seen that he is definitely a special one. If you transfer to become a necromancer, to just don't cry. People have basically seen the video of Lu Yan's college entrance examination battle, and they have a deep impression of Lu Yan's image of holding a black sickle and chopping forward. Is this an ordinary necromancer? Absolutely impossible. At this time, Yang Qian's interview about Lu Yan quickly exploded. After all, this is the only interview video that Lu Yan has released so far, and it immediately became popular, and the number of views soared. Even once the website of Linen Satellite TV collapsed, Yang Qian was right. In this interview, she will definitely make a fortune. At this time, in a villa in the urban area of Suzhou and Hangzhou, a boy holding a staff and exuding an icy aura was staring at the screen. On the screen, what was displayed was the battle scene of Lu Yan's college entrance examination. The young man's forehead bulged with blue veins, he held the staff in his hand and lifted it up, and several ice picks shot directly onto the screen in front of him, blasting the screen. My first place in the province? My family's reward. Lu Yan, right? It's best not to let me meet you in the wild, or I'll let you understand the gap between opportunism and true genius. The boy turned to leave, and a large amount of cold air overflowed from his body, which directly froze the ground. Just as Lu Yan was about to call Luo Liulai to talk about the provincial champion, the phone kept ringing. Hang up one phone call, another phone call is ringing, completely seamless. Lu Yan kept turning on and rejecting the call because he had no chance to make a call. His phone was blown up,